Welcome to MNS, everybody. I'm Will,
And I'm Matt.
and I guess we're on
This
Zoom now.
this is the shifter in a
Yeah,
new format.
it's a shifter. This is what we're doing. We also don't have an intro anymore, so we're just gonna kind of jump into this thing. Well, first off, I'll address the elephant in the room. Um, but also, yeah, this is just I don't know. This is just we're going in a new direction with this show, and hopefully we can get more of the actual cool content type stuff out. This will just allow us to have conversations without taking up so much time in the editing software and everything for now. But that being said, we got to talk about this past weekend. We got to talk about Kansas because we saw arguably the greatest finish in NASCAR history. That's a topic we'll get to a little bit later if that is true or not. But Matt, give him a quick rundown of what happened at Kansas.
Well, first off, we do need to address the other elephant in the room that is not the new format change or whatever's behind you right now. We have to address the
That's
fact
Denny
that we
Hamlin's rear end.
my dad is going to have a field day with this week's episode. But
But your dad
we
needs to
need
just learn to be honest with himself. That thing rules. Continue.
I'm sorry, I got distracted, understandably. But whoa, man. But so so we need to talk about the other two races very briefly. We're not going to recap them because there's no point. Um
Oh yeah,
Jesse
that's true. We've been
Jesse
gone actually.
we've been busy.
We've been busy handling business.
Finals are horrible, guys. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we went
Don't
to.
ask me about my math.
He made an A and passed with flying colors.
Yes, that's why I passed it so exquisitely that they said, "Can you please take it again over the summer?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Hey, man, I'm starting to think you didn't pass, man. Just look
Yeah, so
behind
we
you,
were
man.
actually at Talladega a couple weeks ago, and first off, we saw Jesse Love get
Hey,
his
hey,
first one. We
hey,
didn't see it; we
hey,
weren't there. But
hey, hey. This is my time. You'll get your time. Sit. Hey, go get some popcorn from the concession stand. Buckle up. This is the Matt show right now. It'll be
okay,
your time, but
whatever.
you're gonna get to talk longer than me in this episode. You know that. All right. So Jesse Love won his first Xfinity race at Talladega. We were not at the Xfinity race because we're broke. We're in college, and some of us are in technical college. And then Tyler Reddick won the Talladega race when Michael McDowell totally did not make the stupidest block, and Will totally did not sit next to a degenerate.
Yeah, no. The joke is, both of those things did happen. Michael McDowell did make a comedic block, and I sat next to a comedic human being. And then the next week was Dover.
Where Ryan Truex edged out Carson Quaffle in a wacky Xfinity race that I actually suggest if you have like an hour or two of free time, you go and watch because it's amazing. And then I'll let you say who won the Cup race at Dover because he's behind you. Yes, Denny Hamlin held off Kyle Larson in one of their old-fashioned battles, except it was just air blocking. But that's not the topic of this video. Kansas is the topic of this video. Let's get into probably the greatest race in Gen 7 NASCAR history. So, stage one starts off. Ross Chastain had speed this week. Trackhouse has not had speed very much this year. Stop distracting the people with that booty butt right now. Right now. I'm still in your line. You're just going into business for yourself.
Going into business, the only business that you have is looking up at the lights, brother.
We're gonna let you relish in that and just mute your mic. And I'm gonna
I don't
recap
know,
this
dude. We'll
race.
have to see, dude.
Okay.
I
All
don't think you
right.
should go over, dude. I think I should win, dude.
No, man, please, please. You've been
I'm
on
gonna make
top
the
for 30
Hulkster
years.
my background. Because actually, that's what this channel is gonna turn into. Is just I'm never gonna let you go over. You're gonna suggest ideas. I'm gonna say no. You're gonna try to have your time on the show. I'm gonna say no.
That's not gonna work for me, brother.
We're gonna do big business, brother.
Okay, so stage one, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson fire off like a couple of rockets, and they have an amazing battle throughout the stage. And as you're going through the pit cycle, you think this is going to be Kyle Larson versus Ross Chastain in the stage, but it turns out the guy behind him again brings his darn rear end up to the front and steals the stage after the 11 team makes an amazing pit stop. just an old-fashioned Joe Gibbs pit stop that we've all come to know and love throughout the 2010s, and well, some of us hate, but he's a Toyota guy, so he loves it. Stage 2 was dominated by Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson. Chris Buescher also showed some speed, which was really cool, and he would be able to maintain that speed throughout the race, unlike Ross Chastain. God, what is wrong with Trackhouse? But Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson would go back and forth through the entire stage with cameos from Kyle Busch and guy behind you, Denny Hamlin. Also, there were some cool battles throughout the top 10. Coming to the stage, Noah Gragson and Chase Elliott actually had a photo finish for the final stage point, which was foreshadowing for the end of this race. But ultimately, it would be Chris Buescher that held off Kyle Larson to win stage 2. Unfortunately, in stage 3, it might not be so lucky. In stage 3, we got off to a wacky start with lots of crashes, and Will's about to love what we're about to talk about here in a few seconds. But that was not the first wreck. The first wreck was old Jimmy Johnson. I don't want to talk about old Jimmy Johnson getting taken out by Corey LaJoie after having arguably his best run in the next gen car. Was doing a great, respectable job. Actually, a top running Legacy Motor Club car. I don't know how much that counts for in today's era. If you're the top running Petty car, because I'm going to start calling them Petty because it felt weird to call them Legacy Motor Club right there. Because I'm a normal NASCAR fan. This is not soccer. All right.
So. Oh, you're like the real Lakers fans that still call it the Staples Center.
Yeah, man. I was a Vladdy Divac guy.
Oh, man. He is hardcore.
All right. Don't let me talk about Robert Sacre. This is not, you can watch my horrible basketball videos later on this channel if you so choose. I would not suggest that. I think you should go watch Will.
They do big business, brother.
No, your baseball videos do big business, brother.
Not one of them.
Hey, our track video did pretty good, but I don't want to talk about the Columbus Speedway ever again because I had to write a 20-page paper on it 10 different times. But I'll tell you about that after the show. Okay, so yes. So we're in stage 3, the next crash. Well, I actually Corey LaJoie just slammed into Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson gave him a little stare. Austin Hill was also involved. I'm sure Will threw a little party about that. And Brett Griffin was involved because Brett Griffin likes to involve himself in everything, but his car was involved. Maybe he should be better at spotting, and maybe his car wouldn't be involved. So yeah, we're not getting the door bumper clear in endorsement after that one.
I don't want to burn. Well, actually, you know what? I actually feel like going at Brett Griffin is actually an easy way to get on door bumper clear because I'm pretty sure everyone else on there would probably just hear us shit on him. Ah, dang.
Well, you did good for about however long we are into this. But I love Freddie Kraft. I love me some TJ Majors.
Yeah, I do know you love you.
That's my guy.
Majors. And Casey Boat is good at her job. I think
she is.
Yeah, she's pretty good at her job.
But so she is. It's much better than the Happy Hour podcast, guys. But sorry, I love you, Kevin. I love you, Mamba, and I love you, Caitlin Mitzi. But work on the facts, man. But let me get into the facts because I'm rambling. So
yeah, you are. Get to it.
Denny Hamlin bounced off the wall, causing a checkup where Bubba Wallace checked up, and Austin Cindric did not. Austin Cindric would spin down the track and collect Michael McDowell. Bubba Wallace would eventually spin. Michael McDowell and Bubba Wallace would sustain minor damage in the crash. And they would get to continue on lead lap. But this is the 3rd straight week that the 23 team has crashed. Imagine wrecking in 3 straight races. And this is where we'll say, oh, well, your driver wrecked 4 times in one race this year. And then that's when I'll say, are you in the playoffs, brother?
And that's where I say, I don't know, dude. We'll have to see, brother.
4 points out. A Stuart Haas car's in the playoffs, and you're not.
Points, that's the amount of times that your driver wrecked at Atlanta, brother. Don't ask me about the other races, brother.
It's kind of sad that my driver wrecked more in a race at Atlanta than your driver has career wins. But so here we go.
My driver has raced for Richard Petty and 2311, which is 3 years old.
You know what, man?
Your driver was spoon-fed. Spoon-fed. Actually, I love Chase Elliott. I think he's a wonderfully talented driver.
And I love Bubba Wallace. He's actually my second favorite driver. And I really hope he wins this weekend at Darlington so he can be in the playoffs and the All-Star race because I would hate for poor William not to be able to enjoy the All-Star race. So.
Yeah, we know me. I'll be watching.
Yeah. You watched all the laps this week, didn't you?
I did my best, man. I've had a lot going on.
Hey, you watched. You know what? You know what? You did a good job. All right. So Here
You
we
know
go.
what? I did such a good job. I'm gonna take over the end of the race.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no. Then I'm taking over your segment. So you
No,
shut
okay.
up.
You can have the end of the race. You can have the end of the race.
Thank you, because I actually wanted to do this. So Joey Logano would then spin after contact with Chase Briscoe, and this would put another driver below the cut line. Joey Logano is now 18 points out, and that 22 team just doesn't have speed. It's time to hit the panic button for Paul Wolf and the boys. And then Harrison Burton spun out a couple laps later. We're used to that. We're not going to talk about that. Now let's get to the end of this race. So the end of this race, that caution with Harrison Burton would split the strategy because guys like Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Justin Haley, Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell were able to stay out because they all pitted under the cautions. And it was originally thought that they would be the only guys close on fuel, but as it came to be, it seemed like the fuel mileage was really sporadic. I don't know why, because like Carson Hocevar and guys that like came down with the leaders, they were pitting with like 6 to go. So it was, we did not know who could make it, but at the end, it looked like we were going to have a 2-car battle between Joe Gibbs' teammates because Martin Truex Jr. seemed to time the strategy right. He got up to second, and it looked like he had enough gas to make it. Denny didn't, but it looked like he was going to pass him anyways because he did a better job of saving his car and fuel. But then Kyle Busch, self spin, spun out with and would allow for a green white checker restart. But they would have to come down the pit lane first. And again, another split strategy call where guys like Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Elliott would take 2, and guys like Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski would take 4. So with the green white checkered restart, Kyle Larson would dive underneath with a bonsai move going into turn 1, effectively ending the guy behind him's chances to win a second straight race and Will's chances to get horny after the race. So the Kyle Larson would dive into 1 and 2 under Chris Buescher, but Chris Buescher would clear him. And you think with the whole air blocking thing, that Chris Buescher would win. But this is Kansas, and Kansas provides the best racing for this car. So coming in 3 and 4 on the white flag, Kyle Larson sent it into 3 and 4 on the outside. Chris Buescher raced him very respectably, as Will pointed out in the production meeting, giving him a lot of good room. And they're coming to the line, door banging on the apron. But here on the outside comes Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. out of nowhere. And we're about to have a 4-wide finish, technically. But it would be the closest finish in NASCAR history between Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher. And Chris Buescher would win at Kansas, except he wouldn't. Because after further review, Kyle Larson was the race winner and followed by Chris Buescher in second, Chase Elliott in third, Martin Truex Jr. in fourth, Denny Hamlin in fifth, Christopher Bell in sixth, Alex Bowman in seventh, Kyle Busch in eighth, Noah Gragson in ninth, and Michael McDowell with the rebound of the day in 10th. He is my underdog of the race, but now I'm going to let Will take it away with the main topic of this video.
Well, the truth is, you kind of teed it up perfectly, talking about the sequence at the end of the race. You know, closest finish in NASCAR history. Chris Buescher's got it. No, he doesn't. It's Kyle Larson, and that has seemed to bring about a lot of discourse in the NASCAR community this week. And see, with the way we teed it up, if you're being anticipatory at all, you probably think, "Oh God, it's going to be more people complaining about production or complaining about the start finish line or whatever." There's a cat on the screen. There's a meower on the screen.
Sorry, I just wanted sympathy points with the audience.
So anyway, okay, the first Zoom special is just going crazy. But back to the crux of the issue. So everyone and their mother has been complaining about the end of the race, which sounds crazy because we just got one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history and the closest finish in NASCAR history. But all people seemingly want to talk about is NASCAR's timing and scoring and the start finish line and the fact that it took the cool down lap to figure out who actually won the race, da 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 da. And to that I ask, why is it a problem? Why? Like,
Well, it's
I
because
know some people
NASCAR fans
point,
are never happy, William.
well, there's that, but also like, okay, just like from a fundamental standpoint, okay, people say like, oh yeah, that really sucked for, Chris Buescher and his team. Like, yeah, that's absolutely heartbreaking. I'll also tell you this much. I don't know that much would have changed if NASCAR's timing and scoring had like been a little quicker. Like it would have been every bit as heartbreaking. And I know people talk about the embarrassment of every like celebrating and all that, but look, just because people are upset does not mean that there's actually a problem. And I think this is a key example of that because uh, people are calling for major, I say major, people are calling for big production changes because of how long it took to decide the winner of this race and how, TV said Chris Buescher for almost the entire cooldown lap, and it was no, it's Larson, and people were seemingly really upset about that. But again, I ask why? Like, it's a uniquely, NASCAR kind of thing to have a finish so close to where we're entertaining the idea that it might be a tie because that was, commentary was not good, but after the finish, everyone emphasizing .00. Who won the race? Like that in and of itself is great TV. That's great drama, great intrigue. And yeah, I understand. Like, sure, maybe right as they crossed the line, they said Larson by a thousandth of a second. That's good. You know, but this is also good. What we got was also good. Um, but for some reason, this spurred people like Brett Griffin to say that we need a virtual first down marker like they have in football. And
Stupid idea.
his reasoning was great because his reasoning said, well, in football, they don't ever show you that, the down and distance and it'd be wrong. Except that they do all the time because that's live TV, that's live production. That's just how it's going to go. That's always going to happen. And look, I don't want to bash Brett Griffin or really anybody for trying to come up with solutions or because it's one thing to blindly complain, but like a lot of these people are saying like, oh, well, we need to be quicker and here's how, or like, oh, this might help the TV audience at home, whatever. I understand it, but I view it the same way as I view having the strike zone on during a baseball game. A strike zone on TV is never right. The MLB rulebook says that, the batter strike zone is the width of the plate and from their elbows to their knees. So there isn't such thing as a uniform strike zone. Also, the rulebook states that the strike zone is a 3D object. It's the entire duration of the plate, which is where I think like a lot of people get confused with some of these calls that we see in baseball where, it'll look like, oh wow, that pitch was like really low. It was caught way down here. And I was like, yeah, it didn't maybe clip the front of the plate, but at the back of the plate it did, or vice versa. Sorry, clip the front of the plate, drop for the back of the plate. You get what I mean? What I'm saying is
I
a lot
don't.
of times these graphic changes lead to more confusion than anything. I think the truth is, uh, yeah, there were people upset that they thought Chris Buescher won and he didn't. But if you put a yellow line on screen, the same thing is going to happen. Because guess what that yellow line can't really account for? The banking and the angle. And then if you have a yellow line that does, cool, you just have the start finish line. It's going to look wonky on TV regardless. Like, again, the entire reason a lot of people thought Buescher won was just because of the angle of the camera and the banking coming off of the tri-oval. And I know people talk about like, oh, the start finish line itself is crooked. Maybe the
Well, people.
timing, but that's not how NASCAR does timing and scoring anyway. Like, I feel like people are complaining for no reason. We just had one of the greatest finishes of all time, and people are upset about that they didn't know the winner instantaneously.
We didn't know the winner at Atlanta either because everybody thought that Ryan Blaney won for like 2 seconds. Well, 20
Yeah,
seconds.
and
Like
that's like
he shot to the
fine.
top of the leaderboard at the track. I think it actually makes it more dramatic. Like I think about when I was a kid and watching the truck race at Daytona in like 04, 05 and having the drama of them naming Jimmy Spencer the winner and pulling him out of victory lane. That's good TV and giving it to Bobby Hamilton.
Yeah, so I mean, again, understand where people are coming from, but I can't help but think it's a little bit unnecessary. Just because at the end of the day, the start finish line is the start finish line. Timing and scoring is timing and scoring. It's uniform, and then also like I I saw this after Daytona, but people again another Brett Griffin thing where he was complaining. It took NASCAR posting on Twitter after the race to show the photo they used to decide the finish. When up until now has NASCAR ever shown us the photo used to determine the finish? I know they sure didn't back in 2015 when Dale Jr. got screwed at Talladega. They didn't
What?
use a
What did
finish
you
to
just
talk
bring
about the
up?
timing and scoring loops.
You said you
I'm
never
bringing up
bring that
that
up on this channel. You said you'd
Hey, well,
never bring
hey,
that up.
I admitted that Dale Jr. got screwed. You better be happy. You better take it.
Yeah, I'll just cry myself to sleep tonight. It's fine. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But look, the point is, uh, can we just chill out a little bit and just say, "Oh, that was great," and just accept the moment for what it is? Because any moment, even there's no such thing as perfection. So everything we experience as humans that is great, we can find something. Say like, "Ah, well, this could have been different." Not even this could have been better. A lot of times we as people like to say, "Oh, this could have been different," and hypothetically that could have been better. The same as how people are taking this finish and saying, "Oh, well, we could have had, you know, a virtual start finish line, or we could have known the official result a little quicker." Does that make it better, or does that make it different? And it's because like we're dead set on the different thing being better than what we got. You get what you get. You don't pitch a fit.
So,
And with that
Will,
being said, I'm going to move on really quickly from that and just ask Matt, what's this the greatest finish of all time?
no, no. I'm going to take you back to 2003 in Darlington, the very race of this race won. Ricky Craven had a very sweet tweet about his friendship with Kurt Busch through that moment from 2003 in Darlington. But I saw a very cool tweet. I don't know who put it out, so I can't give any credit for it. But green white checkered finishes that are photo finishes should be rated on a different scale than photo finishes that are the end of a long green flag run. I believe the 2003 Darlington race had a long green flag run that was 60 to 90 laps at the end, comers and goers, a 4 lap beating and banging battle that almost allowed a third car to catch back up. And it came down to 2/1000ths of a second after that long green flag run. To me, that is the best photo finish in NASCAR history. But as Will pointed out in the production meeting, does just because it's a photo finish, that means it's the best finish. My personal best finish in NASCAR history is the 2001 Pepsi 400. I think Will's is a different race at Daytona.
Yeah, I actually, so this is where I want to talk about the difference between a photo finish and a great finish because I mean, I will say it's really hard to argue against that Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch finish. Like that probably is the best finish just because again, it's the culmination of 500 miles and it's at the end of a long run and it's still that close. Like I got to watch the end of the race with my girlfriend this past time and I kind of to put it in perspective talked about 400 miles decided by a thousandth of a second. But when you have that green white checker that pushes them back up all together, it's really, the culmination of 3 miles, which still impressive, but you get the gist. But um when I talk about like the atmosphere or it's sort of the frenzy, this for me is what defines a great racing finish is the frenzy. And why I actually don't mind the timing and scoring issues where it's just like the frenzy of who won? Oh my God. Like when I think of everyone in the crowd, the announcers and the drivers being in an utter frenzy at the end of a race, I go to the 2009 Coke Zero 400, where Kyle Busch takes the lead from Tony Stewart, taking the white flag. Tony cuts off Denny Hamlin, gets back down in front of Jimmy Johnson. By the way, we don't talk about this enough. Me and Matt talk about this race a lot. Jimmy Johnson really took care of Tony Stewart there because he could have been hooked. Um, but and I think he did it a couple times that lap actually. But and then the entire rest of the lap is Tony setting up his move. Kyle Mir drives, hooks himself into the wall. Tony wins, crowd's in a frenzy. It's one of the greatest calls ever, and it's by the TNT crew, which at that point was Ralph Shaheen. Which, by the way, Ralph Shaheen, incredibly underrated announcer, so good with motocross, and he was awesome at NASCAR too. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I love Ralph Shaheen; did a great job there. It was him and Kyle Petty on the call that night, and it was awesome.
Don't
So
forget about Wally Dallenbach. What are you doing, man?
yeah, I was trying to remember the third person on the call that night. It was Wally. Um,
Wally's
but
world. Wally's my bad.
point is that was a great finish. It wasn't necessarily a photo finish. I mean, the actual finish was decided by a few car lengths, or you could maybe say that, oh well, the pass for the win happened, you know, uh, what a quarter mile before the start finish line. Like to me, it's equally as great a finish as what we got Sunday. But that's not to downgrade Sunday at all. I just want to, I say this to again point out how just because something could have been different, like the finish of that 2009 Coke Zero 400 could have been different. And the finish of this race could have been brought to us different. It was great. NASCAR is awesome, guys. There's a lot to complain about, but NASCAR is like really good. Like even when it's bad,
Good
it's really good,
place.
and when it's good, it's really good.
And I think you actually wanted to plug the sponsors this week because you wanted to like actually show that you support this channel.
Oh my God, yes, I forgot I said that, but I don't know if we're gonna have a logo. Well, it's gonna be on the thumbnail, but check out Brie Consta. She does really good stuff, and she made our logo for us. Did a really good job, kind of bringing our idea of the junior glove to life. Also, another person that supports the channel, Mari's an Introvert's Great series on YouTube. Go check that out. Also, go check out Terrell's clothing brand. Yes, Terrell, I'm acknowledging you on the show. You're welcome. And I believe there's a sponsor I'm forgetting because I just don't understand this business.
Go check out Ken's YouTube channel. He does some Madden videos. He has supported us. So
Well,
outro the
anyway,
show,
look.
man. That was an awkward pause, and I didn't like it. Kenny didn't like it either. We didn't acknowledge the Herminator back here,
Well, you
and
know
it
what?
pissed me
We
off.
need to lean into this, Matt. This is a little awkward. This is what we do around here. We're awkward, but we work
I
through
can't
it.
spell awkward.
That is true. And with that being said, thank you for watching The Shifter, everybody. I've been Will.
And I've been the Herminator, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.